All right, I'm going to keep it relatively brief today and pick up where we left off in our Intro to Yangsheng series here. In our last class, we talked about this concept of de, the five de, the Wu de, which relate to the five phases or five elements in Chinese medicine, and understanding that de is in Chinese medicine understood to be the natural quality of mind and heart, which manifests when we are in balance, basically. So the view is that when we are in a state of health, we naturally become transparent to de, to virtue, which is also why it is considered relevant to medicine, the field of ethics, because if we are acting virtuous or being virtuous in our manner, that in itself is balancing us. So when we are in a balanced state, we naturally express virtue, and when we are living in line with our kind of innate virtue, acting well, acting ethically, this leads to greater balance. This is why commentary on ethical living is interspersed through classical Chinese medical texts, which seems quite strange to modern readers often. Why comments on greed or possessiveness, why you'll read these texts which are talking about formulas, lists of herbs, or kind of prescriptions of acupuncture points, and then all of a sudden there'll be a line that talks about how people get ill because they are too greedy or something like that, or too possessive. Or there's a line in Sun Simiao where he says that people get ill because of a lack of love in their life. This seems strange to people approaching the tradition from a kind of conventional Western medical lens. But it is not at all strange from this perspective, because we understand that to be in health is to be good, basically, and to be greedy in the Chinese medical tradition sort of distorts our nature. And because the mind and body are not separate, to distort the nature of the mind is to distort the nature of the body as well. So following from this, in the way that I approach Yangsheng, there are sort of two approaches, and I would say I call this sort of healing from the inside out on the one hand, and healing from the outside in on the other. Healing from the inside out is expressing one's de. It is just manifesting one's good nature, and this creates healing, right? Healing from the outside in, of course, is regulating the body, right? And this is following the guidelines of the Yangsheng tradition. So to just go into this a little bit more, basically, to heal from the inside out, this is just bringing one's deeper true self out, bringing out one's de, doing good acts, becoming a good person. This makes us healthier, and obviously doing the opposite creates illness. When we go against what we know is right, when we live out of alignment with our inner goodness, this makes us ill. Healing from the outside in, of course, is more a matter of taking care of our bodies to support us in bringing out this inner goodness, right? So doing things from the outside to help the inside kind of manifest more fully, such as living in harmony with cycles of nature. This is pretty clear, I think. It's hard to be our best self, to express our true nature, and to be most supportive to the world if we haven't done these basic things like get enough good quality sleep, or have enough energy from our food, or good digestion, or if our body's weak or debilitated or not well exercised or something like that. If we're not feeling good in our body, if we haven't taken good care of our bodies kind of outside in, it's hard for this inner nature to manifest. I mentioned this already, but basically this is why kind of ethical formation is such a big thing in Chinese medicine. And we can even sort of look at this idea of healing from the inside out and from the outside in, which I'm putting forth, and the sort of, it's analogous to different ways of relating with ethical teachings even. So ethical guidelines, can come from the outside in, such as suggestions from others about how we ought to live, or doctrine, or philosophy, or religious teachings, or precepts. A lot of traditions have precepts which tell us kind of what ethical behavior is. But then there's also from the inside out, which is through listening to our conscience and expressing our de in that way, listening to ourselves on a deeper level. And of course, as I've talked about, the deepest way of engaging Yangsheng is listening to our body, listening to what our body needs in terms of nourishment or rest or exercise, and following from that. Until we have a high level of ability to listen to our bodies, though, then it is the kind of outside-in approach, the kind of looking at the guidelines of the tradition and following those guidelines that is most useful. And this slide is basically just saying the same thing. We have our guidelines can come from the outside. Guidelines from the tradition about regulating the rhythms of the body and mind. For this, there are methods, right? There are methods to regulating our life. But from the inside out, there aren't any methods, right? The only method is to just listen to our body and our mind and doing what we know is right. So in a sense, the inside out aspect, there are no methods, right? It's the outside in that there are methods for. And really, I would say that the inside out approach, that would be kind of gong, that would be skill. In Chinese medicine and Chinese arts in general, there's this distinction between fa, a method, and gong, skill. We use the methods of the tradition, the guidelines of the tradition, telling us, when to eat, how to eat, when to sleep, different guidelines around regulating our emotions, exercise, all these things. We use the methods until we have attained skill. And then once we have skill, we do not necessarily need the guidelines. So we essentially study the map, but once we know it, the wilderness of life is ours to explore. And in this slide, I have shown this old, this is a Taoist body map, actually, even though it looks like what it is it's a mountain. But there are many Taoist body maps which actually are, they're mountains, which is kind of cool. There's this analogy between a mountain and a body. And one thing that's relevant here, is this metaphor of the wilderness. A mountain is like a big wilderness, and there are paths through this wilderness. The body is the same, regulating and taking care of the body. It's a wilderness which we have maps to help us navigate. So that's it for now. I wanted to keep it simple today because it's late